Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Daniel Lemeltank. I'd like to welcome you to the part inventory year-end webinar. Oh my God, the part year-end inventory webinar. There you go. Um, Happy to have you here. Before we get started, I want to direct your attention to that Q&A section that a lot of you are using at the moment. Please feel free throughout the webinar to ask questions there. I'll do my best to answer them as Mike G is talking. If I can't, we will certainly set up a case and a call to answer whatever we can. So what we're going to do here, yeah. So I want to go through next step. So presenting the team, it's going to be myself as the host, and we have Mike Gingras, obviously an expert that most of you have already spoken to, specifically about this subject. We're happy to go through 8 different parts of the inventory. One, we're going to start with the Knowledge Center because it's always important for you guys to know where to find these documents and information. Then we're going to start with the year-end inventory recommendations. We're going to prepare your store for inventory count. We're going to manage your Percon files. We're going to talk about work methods and rules, IRMA and the count sessions and strategies for that, Percon and how to use it, and finally finalizing your inventory. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it to Mike, and good luck, everybody, and please do not hesitate to ask questions. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Dan. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to be going through the topics that Dan just mentioned. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Okay, so I hope everyone sees my screen. Dan, is everything okay?
Yep, I'm confirming I can see it well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a knowledge base, and you can click on F1 on your keyboard or click on Help over here and click on Knowledge Center. So this will take you to a web browser. And if you're not signed up, all you need to do is click on Sign Up, and you enter your full name, your email, and sign up. You will receive a welcome email. That's where you create your password. It could be in your, if you haven't received the email within a few minutes, look in your spam folder. It can be there. So let's sign in. So once you're in the Knowledge Center, you have your username at the top, and you can manage your profile, your activities. I'm going to put it in English. Sorry about that. I'm going to change language, put it in English. Okay, so you can see all your previous requests over here, and you'll see if they're open or solved. Submitting a request is the best way because once you submit these requests, they're in real time. We receive the ticket in our queue right away. It takes fractions of a second. So you type a subject, paragraph, a brief description. You can add screenshots or files by dragging and dropping. When you add a subject, it is possible that if there's a title that's related to that subject, you will have documents that will appear, suggested documents. You can view it. No, that's not it. You continue on typing. It's important to add a subject and a small description because depending on the description and the subject, the proper person in support will contact you right away. By any time, you can click on DealerVu over here, and it takes you to the main screen. Announcements over here, you have the latest version and the newest features. By clicking here, you see version 24.7, and you have for parts, you have all the major enhancements of part documents and so on and so forth. So it's the perfect place to go view and get familiarized with the new features because we do create many features. So it's always important to go see them. So in our case right now, we're talking about inventory. And the first subject I'm going to be talking about is inventory. So it's the inventory preparation guide. And there you go. You have the guide. But first, I'm going to show you how to prepare your computer's desktop. The person that will be, this is recommended for the person that will be adding the files to Percon. So what I suggest is to create a folder called 2024 inventory. And then within this folder, you create a subfolder called original count files and original Percon files. You never work with the originals. So when you're running Percon, I will show you later, you can save your files over here, you copy them, and you paste them, and you put them over here to work with. Same thing for the count files. Within Irma, when you export the files, you put them in here, you copy them, and you put them into this folder over here, in the root folder. Like this, if you make a mistake, you destroy a file, you always have your original files over here that are safe. Never work with the original files. Next, establishing rules and methods. You should have at least one person per department. We call that a runner. That's going to search for parts. Whoever's counting, they don't leave their position. They stay there, and they call the runner. And I can't find the barcode. The barcode's damaged. I need a new barcode, or the description does not make sense. So try to have a runner for each department. Like this, you save time and you avoid errors. That runner can also have a count session, and once they find the proper part number, they add it to the count session that's related to their workstation. When you start a shelf, okay, so what I usually do when you prepare your store, you put white sheets of paper all over your store. Every single shelf, every rack, every mannequin, everywhere. The pyramids, you put a white sheet of paper. If you have leathers, two racks, top and bottom, put two pieces of paper everywhere. In your back store, the tires, not on every part, but on every sections and shelves, every display. Put those white sheets of paper everywhere. So when you start counting, for example, you're counting leather, the top row. You start counting. You remove the white sheet of paper, you start scanning. Someone comes up, has a question, that's a no-no. You wait till the person finishes counting that row. The person that's going to ask the question waits till they finish the row. And the same thing applies to the shelves. When you start counting, you commit to that shelf. You have to go to the bathroom, you complete that shelf. Why? Because you remove the white sheet of paper. If you pull a box out to say, oh, I'm here, and you go to the bathroom, you come back, did I count this box or I didn't? Let's count it again. Or, no, I counted that box. First thing you know, you forgot. You didn't count that box. So when you start a row, you finish that row. Same thing applies for breaks. Same thing applies for lunchtime. You know it's almost time for lunch. Finish your row, then you go eat. You come back, there's a white sheet of paper. We didn't count here. Remove the sheet, start counting. So at the end of the day, all you need to do is have the people go around the store and look for those white sheets of paper. They stand out. So you just have to apply them with Scotch tape, and you're going to find rows or sections or mannequins that you forgot to count. There's also another trick that you can do, pre-counting. When you do your pre-counting, you have drawers. For example, it's mostly in the mechanic section for the service. You have these drawers or you have these organizers. Every single drawer you put a white sheet of paper, that's pre-counting, the barcode of the items in that drawer, and the quantity. So as you're getting closer to the inventory count, you update the counts. See, over here was 12, 6, 10. You received some. It went from 6 back to 12. You just pre-count everything. Like this, the day of the inventory, you remove the sheet, scan that sheet with the quantities, and you go to the next drawer. That is very time consuming to count during the inventory count. So if you pre-count this, that's going to help you save a lot of time. For the general merch, you have displays. Pre-count your displays. Put these sheets of paper with the barcodes and quantities. Mannequins. You create a sheet of paper for your mannequin. You have a t-shirt. You have a shirt. You have a jean jacket. You can have a pair of jeans. You can have a belt, socks, boots, bandana. Put everything on that sheet of paper. You're like this, you're sure you're not going to forget to count these when it's time. And it's going to be a lot quicker to do. You're going to save time and precision, because when you're counting, you might forget that belt or the socks or whatever you put on that mannequin. Okay, so this is one trick that I have. Then we're going to be talking about inventory count sessions in DealerVu. So you go to sorry about that. I'm so used to teach Irma. You go in this section over here, that is on my other screen. Go to Tools, Part Inventory Count Session. And what you can do, like new categories and new sessions, it's a bit like a filing cabinet. So the category is the drawer and the sessions are the folders in your drawer. So you can create a category called 2024 inventory. Whoops. Inventory, and you save. So if you have 4 scanners or 5 scanners or 2 runners, so you create a session. Let's say you have 4 scanners. Scanner 1, and you give it the inventory 2024. Then you create, sorry about that. I forgot to mention location awareness. I'll explain after what the location awareness is. So you create your sessions 1, 2, 3, 4, and you also can create new sessions for your runners. So you can call it parts counter. Okay. He's probably not going to have location awareness. You save, and you create one for general merch counter. So you're on your scanners, whoever's using scanner 1, select scanner 1, and they can start scanning. So when you click refresh, you're going to see these unique parts and total parts increase while they're scanning. At the end of the day, you can merge all these sessions into one session, or you can leave them. If you only have 4 scanners plus 2 runners, well, you have 6 sessions. You can always export those and import 6 sessions into Percon. But like I said, you can merge your sessions. What's nice about this is when they're unmerged, you want to run the part exception report before import. You can run the part inventory count exception. It's also good for cycle counts, this tool over here. So the reason why I was talking about location awareness is it's the perfect timing with the new scanners, the Zebra TC21s and 26, the new models. You can use these scanners while you're scanning, and you have location awareness active. When you're scanning these parts, you're going to be touching every single part in your store. It's the perfect timing to assign the proper location bins. You might have parts that don't have location bins. So when you start scanning, you remove that white sheet of paper, you scan the location bin, and then you scan your parts. Irma will tell you if your part is in the wrong bin location. You get a special particular sound with a red pop-up, says part wrong location. Then you can edit the location and save it. You can only do that with the newer models. With the older models, the MC 9090s or the MC 3200s, you cannot update the inventory. That's why it's a good idea to use inventory location awareness. There's also the fact that if every single part in your store has a location, when you're running a particular report, if you haven't scanned that part, it's going to appear in your exception report. But once again, that's also best for Percon, not Percon, sorry, when you're doing cycle counts. Okay, next thing here, the white sheets. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to go through my my cheat sheets here, make sure I didn't forget anything. Now I'm going to show you the process for Percon. So when you go in Percon, no, let's talk about this sheet here first. I forgot about that. Sorry. The inventory preparation guide. These are all the status that affect your inventory. Open invoice affects your inventory. Wait for part, seek approval, complete. Quote does not affect your inventory. What I mean by affecting your inventory, if you have multiple open invoice, all the parts that are on that open invoice are set to not available. So if these are quotes that you left as opened, and you have a customer that comes to the counter and wants to buy a particular part, and you have one in stock, 0 available, it could be because it's on a open invoice. So you can lose sales. So try to avoid these open invoice. Also, try to make sure that you pick all the parts. So if you have invoices and you have parts on those invoices, make sure you took them out and put them into the customer's bin. So you can move the location and put it in the customer's bin. So you have here the status, you put it hold for parts. So that means the part is in the customer's bin. It doesn't do anything in DealerVu, it's just a little flag, a reminder. So every single part, you put them, if they're taken out, but these they're not because they're on order, they're red, but hypothetically, let's say they were in stock, you pick the parts right away, put them in the customer's bin. I suggest also You do that for service. Every work order, you remove the parts that go for the customer and you put them in the customer's bin. The reason why is because you don't want to recount those parts. Because if you leave them in the normal bins and they're sold, you're going to re-put them in inventory and count them again, which you don't want to do. Also, I suggest that you go through all invoices that are wait for parts. If they're paid, close them to paid, because we often see that invoices are left to complete. We often see that invoices are left to wait for parts, and there's no more amount to pay, and the parts are gone. I've also seen customer comes up to the counter. There's no indication that the part has been picked and put as hold for parts. The guy at the counter says, oh, I'll go get them in the back. He goes and gets them in the back, not on the customer shelf, but in the back store, gives the parts to the counter. To the customer, he goes. That's all fine. But it can happen that in the customer's bin, the parts were taken out. They're in the customer's bin. So now you have to clean up those customers' bin and make sure that every part that's in the customer's bin, they haven't been given out to the customer. So you have to put, if they've been given out to the customer, you have to put them back into the stock, because you're not going to be counting those. You never count customer bins. So make sure you clean that up. Another tip I can have for you is before the inventory, go through your back store, clean it up, place the boxes, make sure the labels face you. Make sure you don't have to take a stepladder and move the box, turn the box, put them all facing you. If your label is weak, change the label. If it's broken, scratched, change the label. You don't want to do that the day you're counting. So clean up the back store. If you can group parts, group them. If there's a part that's in 4 shelves, different rows, regroup them. It's easy with Irma. It takes seconds to regroup these parts. So that's about the preparation. I don't have much left to say about preparation. So we're going to be talking about the Percon tool. It's actually a wizard, which works fantastic. Don't be scared to use it. It's an amazing tool. So when you start your part inventory, oops, it's on the other screen. This is Percon. So you start the wizard, new, it takes today's date, and make sure you click full inventory count. You don't want to do a cycle count. You're doing a full inventory. So what this is going to do is going to also clear out all your short sales. So you click next. This is your short sales. You export the list and you put that in your folder, original Percon. See here, the short sales. You put them in that folder. Then you click next. And then you run these 3 reports. These 3 reports end up into that folder also. Now, you notice I don't have the next. That's because I didn't run the reports. You have to run the reports. So bear with me. I'll run the reports because I could always show you the next part with the screenshots. That's what I'll do. So this is the wizard. You're going to reach a point that you have to create a snapshot of your DealerVu.
Mike, sorry
Yes,
to
Dan?
disturb you. Larry has a question here asking you about short sales. I know that's going to be part of the wizard here. I just want you to be aware that he's going to ask about that.
Okay. What's the question?
No, he's asking about short sales and how they're treated in the inventory, so you can talk about it in Percon.
Oh, okay. Well, DealerVu, the way when you run Percon, it's going to wipe out. It's going to wipe out the short sales. It's going to put them back to zero. But you do have a report that's given to you before, so you can always go back afterwards and clean up those short sales.
And Mike, also try in the Percon, see if you have a pre-existing snapshot that was already taken. Um,
That's a good idea.
so that way you don't have to.
Okay. So that one is a cycle count. I don't want to take that one. That one here, the 2023. So we can use this one here. So you click next. The reports have been done. They've been printed out or exported, sorry. So your next is highlighted. At this point, this is when you import the files you created in Irma. Or if you used a regular scanner or you used a laptop, column 1 is the part number, column 2 is the quantity, and it has to be a CSV. So this is where you're going to import, you're going to add and import your files into Percon. At this point, Dan, I have to use the screenshots. So let's go to Zendesk, Percon document link. Step by step, how to get to Percon. The notes, everything you need to do, the new, zero out short sales. Click next, select the zero. This is what it looks like when you're importing your files. Once you're imported, now you're not going to have this here resolving. Well, this is a short sale that I showed you. You export the short sale. Then you create the snapshot. The snapshot is created in DealerVu to let you continue your daily operations. So the morning of the inventory, you create a snapshot and you refresh your training database right away. Like this, it makes a copy of your snapshot on the training database. Now, I'll explain you quickly what refreshing the training database does. You have your database, okay? And you have the physical training database. There are two separate databases. So when you refresh the training database, right now at 3:30 p.m., you click on Refresh Training Database. It's going to create a backup of your database right now at 3:31, and it's going to restore it in the training database. So you can go work in the training database. Let's say you hired a new employee at 4 o'clock. That new employee is not going to be in the training database. Or you made 3 sales. They're not going to be in the training database. Everything that's up to 3:31 p.m. is in the database. So what you do is you practice importing and resolving your inventory with all your files, and once you're satisfied, you then import in live mode. Let's say you're importing in training and you made a mistake. Don't worry. You refresh the training database again and you start over in Percon. Once you're satisfied, you can rename your files, put file 1, file 2, just to be on the safe side. You do it in training mode. Once you're finished, you do it in live mode. So this takes a snapshot. Okay, do you want to proceed? Yes. Then you get a pop-up saying the snapshot successfully created. Okay, then we're talking about refreshing the training mode. I'm not going to read the entire document. I'm pretty sure you guys can read it, but I'm giving you the big lines here. Loading your CSV files. Those are the files created in Irma or on a laptop with Excel. They have to be a CSV format and not, American CSV. The French keyboards, it's a semicolon. That won't work. It has to be a comma. So you select your files, you import the files. If you're using Irma, the TC21s, and even the older models, if you're using Irma, you're not gonna have any resolutions, because the conflicts, you're not gonna have any. Because when you're scanning the part, and the part, for example, is 1, 2, 3, 4, you've got 3 vendors for that 1, 2, 3, 4 part. You know it's the number 2, you select the vendor number 2, and you count. Irma remembers when it's importing in the Percon tool. So like this, you don't have to spend hours fixing conflicts or duplicate part numbers. You do have a section for parts counted twice, which is normal because scanner 1 can count parts, tires in the front, and the scanner 2 is doing the back store with more tires. So they're counted in 2 places. That's normal. Or oil filters. So you just have to manage the quantities and make sure you're okay. Because if you see here, when you're resolving conflicts, it's always a guessing game if you're not using Irma. Because normally this is done at night and you're not at the store, and you have to click, 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 select the proper one. And it's a guessing game, and you can guess for that same part year after year after year. So Irma will prevent all these problems. It's an amazing tool. I've used it many times. Invalid parts, you have to resolve those. Duplicate entries, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, that you counted at different count sessions, or you counted it twice. Duplicate, I only have 5. There's an error. So you export that file, all the duplicate, the multiple entries, you export that file, and you have your runners verify. What's the problem? Do we have 10 or we have 5? We have 5. So you open the session and you can go back in the count sessions. Let me open this here. So if you open, you select a part number, 1, 2, 3, 4, you click refresh, it's going to tell you in which session it's located. So it can tell you it's in 2 locations. 1, you fix it. You remove the part number to only have 5. So that's an easy way to resolve multiple entries. But if you're using my method with the white sheet of papers, that shouldn't happen. And then you have the uncounted parts. That's, again, in the steps of Percon. Step by step, then when you resolve the other problems, then you have the uncounted parts. So you export this sheet, and then again, once again, you put it into this folder. original count files. Or you can put it in the Percon and you copy it and you work with this sheet. So normally what's done is you open that sheet in an Excel format. You sort it by the most expensive to the least expensive, print out some sheets, share them with your team, and you go hunting. Search for those uncounted parts, because there's always uncounted parts. So try to count the most expensive parts, and when you're fed up or you're happy or with, like, you don't want to count the $2 or $1, you don't want to spend a week searching for those parts, then you write those off with the tool. What I suggest also, since you have a snapshot, you can go about your business maybe the next day or the day after the count. But if you have receiving to do, I highly recommend that you wait till you found all the missing parts and completed the Percon process. Because let's say you've done your counting and 3 days later you have another person that's searching for the missing parts, uncounted parts, finds them, puts them in, but they're parts you received this morning. If you really have to receive these parts, put them aside. Don't mix them up with the parts that have been counted. I don't suggest you do that. When you're going through the wizard, it takes you to the final steps for the review. You have your short sale adjustment, your uncounted parts adjustment, counted parts adjustment, and your total parts valuation. Then you can export this sheet again, this file, and click next. And you have another window that you can select your reason, part inventory count, and you click commit, and all the journal entries will be done in DealerVu accounting. So you go up to the commit. You don't need to go into the commit. You don't need to commit it in training mode. Once you're satisfied with all your files, you've done your research, you might create an extra file in your count files. Well, errors, CSV errors, or uncounted. So you can either do it by hand or add the parts manually in Percon. So if you have your sessions here, it's on my other screen, let me bring it over. So you can add a part. The runners, that's how they add the parts. He adds the part, 5. I'm going to remove the multi. Oh, no, I don't like working that. Okay. He adds 5. You can add another part and so on and so forth. So the findings, you put them in this file here. So you add these files when you're importing in Percon. Because once you have this file here, you export the file, or you can export the file for a CSV part count file. So you go put it in your inventory, count files right here. Data export complete. So if you look at this file here, it's very simple. Part number and quantity. You can do that with an Excel spreadsheet or a regular scanner, a handheld scanner that can create CSV files. But this is this is the format that you import into Percon. That's about it, Dan. You guys have any questions?
So far, Mike, there hasn't been any questions. Has Larry's about the short sales and stuff like that. So I think we're okay. We'll give it a couple seconds here and see if anybody has anything else.
Okay.
Oh, Amanda has one here. Does the Percon tool clean up your reserve sales with the short sales cleanup?
Yes. It won't remove them. It's going to keep them reserved.
Okay, so yeah,
But it's always good to review these at the beginning when you know you're going to be doing your inventory count. Like I was saying, clean up your wait for parts, clean up the completed, make sure everything is clean.
she says thank you.
You're welcome.
I I don't think there's any more questions at this time, and so I'll share my screen now, Mike, for a second.
Okay.
Um, okay. Just want to thank you guys, everybody, for coming to this thing. We will be sending out a broadcast with the actual link to the webinar, with the video link to the webinar, so you'll be able to watch this over and over and over again. And also that link will have the documents that are related to the actual conversation we just had. So thank you for your time. And if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to log on to our help center and submit a case. Thank you very much, everybody.